everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a Dynasty Rookie Draft. It's going to be, our first fantasy episode of the year. Super excited for it. The draft just got done. We've evaluated all of our favorite situations. We both just got our rookie rankings for Dynasty finished. So we're kind of just going to draft against each other. Every other pick, just, go off our rankings, kind of show how these first few rounds should go. It'll be a 3-round non-super flex league because obviously super flex, you just push up all the quarterbacks anyway. So super excited for this. It's going to be fun starting out our fantasy journey this summer. How are you, Josh?
Doing good. Draft season's over, so our nerding on that is going to be coming slowly to an end. I'm sure we'll still kick out a couple more episodes about the draft, but now you're going to see, if you're a weirdo, if you're a nerd and you love fantasy and you're ready for fantasy football in May, come watch this stuff, man. Dynasty stuff. This is fun. This is part of the reason we do this pod. We're a little unique. We do all things football, draft, fantasy. We love it all, man. So this is just all up our alley. And there's some fun rookies, man. Dynasty is going to be fun this year.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see how you have all these guys stacked up. So I'm ready to draft against you. And I guess we'll just go over all the format. It's a 12-team league, no super flex, just because, if it's super flex, you obviously just move Caleb, May, Daniels, Nicks up to the top. And, we're just gonna do a standard dynasty rookie draft in this one. So super excited about it. I'm gonna defer the first pick to you, and then we can just rotate every other pick and just show how these first 3 rounds should go in your dynasty rookie drafts.
Perfect. And it's full PPR, right?
Full PPR.
Okay. I appreciate that, Dan, for giving me the easy layup to start off with. And yeah, I'm going to be drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. It's the no-brainer pick. He was my number one player in the entire draft, and he goes to a situation where he immediately steps in as the wide receiver one. And I think day one could easily see 100 targets. I think if there's any receiver that realistically has a chance to hit that 100 target mark, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he can run every single route in the book. He's going to get open. He's going to score touchdowns. And he goes to an offense with Kyler Murray, who desperately, desperately has been lacking that wide receiver one.
Yeah, this one needs no analysis. This is going to be the shortest analysis of this whole draft. It's an easy pick. I'm so excited to see this generational Hall of Fame receiver prospect to me with Kyler. It's a beautiful, beautiful connection. I'll just move right on to my number 2 overall player on my board. Everyone has the same number 1. I was higher on Rome Odunze in the draft, but just the situations that they're all going to, I have to say Malik Neighbors is the number 2 option in your rookie dynasty drafts. He's literally going into a situation in New York where he's the wide receiver one. I know his quarterback situation isn't the greatest, but man, it's a good situation regardless for fantasy because he's just going to be a target merchant, by far the best receiver in that room. And he's electric. He's going to be a fan favorite, and he's going to be a good piece to have in dynasty. So
Yeah, and he's kind of got that attitude of if you watched that interview where Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dad's like, if I could take one thing of my game and give it to Marvin, I would tell him, beg for the ball, complain for the ball, say I want the damn ball. And I feel like Malik Neighbors maybe has a little bit more of that attitude. He's going to walk in there, he's going to demand targets to make. I mean, he doesn't like Daniel Jones already, so he's going to make Daniel Jones absolutely feed him. So I'm right on par with you right there. And I'll move into my number 3 pick right here, which is going to be Rome Odunze. He may not have the biggest season year one, but we are drafting for Dynasty, and I think Keenan Allen might only be there for 1 year, and you get Rome to really be his successor and really take that Keenan Allen role. I mean, he's very similar to Keenan Allen. He's gonna be a PPR machine, and I think he's just a bigger, faster, more electric Keenan Allen. He's gonna find his way in the end zone more. And I wouldn't be surprised, I think he's going to start on the outside. I think, you're going to have DJ Moore, Keenan in the slot, and then Rome is your third on the other side. And I think he's going to, maybe midway through the season start stealing more of those targets from Keenan Allen, eventually just taking over his role.
I mean, we both compared him to Keenan Allen a lot during this process, and he goes into such a crazy situation. He's going to have Caleb as his quarterback for the next 10, 15 years, and he's the perfect eventual replacement for Keenan Allen. So we don't really need to talk about that one. That is the consensus top 3, and we are going top or chalk with the top 3. But I'm going to move on to pick 4, and you actually you made this easy on me because my number 4 player on my board is Rome Odunze because I'm infinitely high on this guy that we just talked about, his teammate Caleb Williams. I think, even in non-super flex league, he's going to be very, very valuable in Dynasty just because I think he's going to be a offensive machine for the next 10, 15 years, like I said. And that's obviously incredibly valuable. I think he's by far the best quarterback in this class, obviously. And yeah, I just think it's the perfect situation. No first overall pick's ever gone into a better situation. I love the pick here.
No, I mean, what first overall pick gets to go play with a perfect front five of the offensive line? Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. It's and DeAndre Swift. It's just disgusting. So he goes into a situation where he can absolutely thrive. So I love that pick. If you weren't going to do that, I was going to do that next. I was hoping he'd fall one more spot, but I'm going to go. I might go in a little different direction here, and I'm going to go with my sixth pick. Give me Lad McConkey, baby. Give me the kid, man. Give me the kid from Georgia. This guy is going to be a PPR machine. He steps into a good situation where Justin Herbert just loses Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And I don't think Josh Palmer has really proved he can be a dominant wide receiver one. I think he suits more as a wide receiver two. And I think a few games into the year, you're going to see Lad McConkey becoming that safety net, that safety blanket for Justin Herbert. He can run every route in the book. He's sneakily fast. And I think he's really just going to take that Keenan Allen role. And we know how valuable Keenan Allen's been in fantasy with Justin Herbert. He targets. He has one receiver he really trusts and he targets. And I think Lad McConkey's going to step into that role and take that spot.
I love it. I like you calling your shot. I see a lot of dynasty drafts where Lad McConkey's kind of that first name. That's I don't want to say reach, but he's going over Brian Thomas, who went in the first round, and it does make sense. He's going to be an infinite target merchant with this Chargers team. I think he's genuinely their best receiver day one in just all phases of the game. He's a smart, savvy receiver. He might be their most savvy route runner already. I really love the pairing with Herbert too. Two very smart guys. Herbert's going to get the ball to him. So I like it. I will say he is the consensus wide receiver 6. He's my wide receiver 6. So a little bit high for me, but I do love you calling your shot at him. That's really fun.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a my guy all throughout the season. So stay tuned for some Lad McConkey content. A little white lightning guy right there. So absolutely love him.
All right, and let's move on to pick 6. I'm going to go with a different route again. I'm going to go Brock Bowers, who goes into an interesting situation with Michael Myers, but I just don't see Bowers as a tight end even. Or I said Michael Myers, Michael Mayer. But I just don't really see Brock Bowers as a tight end. I see him being a complete receiver in this offense, being the number 2 option to Devontae Adams, and I think it's going to be electric. So I think Brock Bowers, especially if you're doing like a tight end premium league, and just especially in Dynasty, he's just such a playmaker. They're going to hand the ball off to him. He's going to get points even as a rookie. I think he's going to be electric. So I like taking my shot on tight end.
Absolutely love that. One of the best college tight ends to ever come out. And again, I think there's a world where you can have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer on the field at the same time. I think Michael Mayer is more of your traditional tight end, and Brock Bowers, you just literally use him as a wide receiver. You line him up in the X, the Y, the Z. I don't really care because he can really line up anywhere on the field. He can be your H back. I do not care. Brock Bowers will be involved. You'll be dumb if I mean the Raiders will be absolutely just dumb and brainless if they can't get him out on the field, almost every single play. But yeah, he's kind of your your queen chess piece on the chessboard where you just move him around wherever.
All right, let's see who you're going to pick 7.
I'm glad you gave this one to me too. I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks. I'm going to take the first running back off the
Come
board.
on, man. Really?
I'm happy you let him fall right into my lap right there. He comes into a perfect situation where he's gonna be the RB1. He does not have really any competition. You're telling me Chuba Hubbard is gonna be his competition. Yeah, Jonathan Brooks is gonna be the bell cow in Carolina. I think he could see 200 plus touches in his rookie year. And just he's still Bryce Young is still a young quarterback. They're gonna want to be able to establish a run game and take some pressure off him. And I think Jonathan Brooks is just really going to thrive from that. And I think he's the next great Texas running back. So I'm glad you gave me another layup there with pick 7.
I'm super annoyed, man. I'm annoyed because I really wanted him. I think he's just, he's going into the perfect situation. Like you said, it's just him and Chuba. So he's going in to be the bell cow I think it's going to be a pretty fun offense for Carolina. I think he's going to be just a good fantasy piece day one and Dynasty. That's really valuable. So I like you calling your shot on him. gonna be so fun. I had him as the clear RB1 in this whole process, and I know a lot of dynasty people actually didn't really like him as the RB1, and I'm happy he went into the perfect situation as the first running back off the board. Take his time to get healthy. I absolutely love it. I'll go on to my next pick. I'm definitely considering the next quarterback, but I will just go the top player on my board, Brian Thomas Jr., just the freak, the 6'3", ran a 4.3. He's going to have a perfect connection with Trevor. I think it's underrated that like Trevor is a really good deep ball thrower. He had a lot of kind of missed connections last year with Calvin Ridley in the red zone, a lot of missed touchdown opportunities that I think Brian Thomas is going to fully take advantage of. I think he's an absolute monster. I love the prospect. I think this is honestly a steal right here.
Yeah, no, it is a steal. I think he's going to become, yeah, the day one red zone target. He's there. I mean, he really is. They didn't have a wide receiver. I wouldn't really consider Christian Kirk or Gabe Davis a true wide receiver one. I think Brian Thomas can be your true wide receiver one, your true X. And yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that gets in the end zone and finds the end zone because I mean, he did it at LSU at an elite level with 17 touchdowns. And so you bring that production to Jacksonville where they struggled to score touchdowns. So yeah, I love that pick. That was gonna be where I was gonna go next. But with my number 9 pick, I'm gonna go with Trey Benson, running back, Arizona Cardinals. This is one that may not be a sexy pick for the first half of the season, or even, maybe even it might be a pick for next year. But Trey Benson will eventually be their RB1. He's got to compete with James Conner right now, but I think he will. I think maybe mid-season. I mean, James Conner has a lot of miles on him. I think James Conner eventually just becomes your third down back, and you just make Trey Benson your bell cow. And he's an electric football player, man. He was fantastic at Florida State. He had the most forced missed tackles, most yards after contact. And yeah, a guy who I just think I see his game really thriving at the next level, and I think he goes to a okay situation where there's a veteran running back where he can take his spot.
Yeah, I think he's by far the consensus RB2 for Dynasty. And yeah, I think James Conner has, this year. And then Trey Benson's a perfect eventual replacement. He's got a lot of upside as well. So I think he is worth the top 10 pick. And then moving on to my next pick, the next quarterback will go off the board. And, I've made it very known all offseason that I am higher on Drake May than Jane Daniels. But for fantasy and dynasty aspects, like you see, Jane Daniels is projected like 40 more points over the season than Drake May. I do have to go Jane Daniels just because of that running ability, just because of that upside and that rushing upside. It's just very valuable for fantasy, kind of like Anthony Richardson's type of value. So I don't, I'm not the highest on Jane Daniels. I'm not fully optimistic that he's the franchise quarterback like I am for Drake May, but I think the commander situation is just a little bit better as well. So for fantasy purposes, I will be taking Jane Daniels here, and for realism purposes, because he might even go higher than this in your drafts.
He may be like RG3 in his rookie season, man. You might just get that one electric year, and then you just try and pawn him off in Dynasty. Because who knows if he stays healthy and has a good rookie year, maybe try and sell him in fantasy, man. That injury feels like it's destined to come just because he's so small unless he really bulks up. But yeah, no, for fantasy, the running and the passing is definitely an advantage over a guy like Drake May. So I get where you go with that. I'll move on to my pick 11, and I'm gonna go the kid, man. I'm gonna go Keon Coleman, wide receiver one in Buffalo. Right now, I think he comes into a situation where it's wide open. I mean, you've got Chase Claypool, who they just signed, who you really can't take seriously, and then Curtis Samuel, who I do like. Curtis Samuel is kind of a later round flex guy, to throw a dart on. But Keon Coleman steps into that role. He's an X receiver. He's a big body guy. He's going to be a big target for Josh Allen. And somebody's got to take those targets. I mean, you do lose Gabe Davis, you lose Stephon Diggs, so it's wide open. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be definitely somebody to keep an eye on in fantasy, to take some of those targets. But the it's all open for Keon Coleman, man. He can take as many targets as he wants. I wasn't super high on him through the draft, but I do like the situation. I think he goes into a perfect situation with Josh Allen in Buffalo, and I think he could be a 10. I don't see him being really a 1,000-yard receiver in his first year, but I could see him definitely being a 10 touchdown type of guy.
Yeah, I love it. I have loved Keon as a prospect, and I think he goes into the perfect situation. I was, I thought he was one of the receivers that the Bills should have targeted. I think he's the perfect, just number one in that offense. He's kind of like a replacement for Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs both. I think he's going to be pretty solid. I think he's just a good football player. So I absolutely love that. I'll go with the next pick. This is tough. Xavier Worthy's having a little bit of a fall compared to consensus for sure. He's the wide receiver 5 on consensus, and we're just both a little bit, lower on him. We don't love his full package of just playing receiver. We don't love his
You
routes,
saw the highlight, right? You saw the highlight from day one, right?
the drop that's going viral. Yeah.
um, uh, Kadarius Tony. What?
I mean, even like obviously he's better than Kadarius Tony, but at the same time, like the Chiefs have that role, and it's never been successful in fantasy. So like I think it's fair that he's falling for us in fantasy, just because I know he's got upside, he's crazy fast, but also in that role, I just don't know how high his upside is in fantasy. So with that being said, I'm gonna go Drake May over Xavier Worthy.
Damn it.
I got to
Damn
finesse you. I got to get
it.
that quarterback off the board in round one. And I think Drake May might end up being better than Jane Daniels. If they get some more weapons for him, he could be a touchdown machine. In New England, they get a little bit better of a situation for him. So I like the upside. I love the player. He's my number 2 quarterback in the class. I think he's got, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love potential pretty soon here. So I love it.
Dang it. That was definitely I wanted to get one of the 3 quarterbacks, but you fleeced all 3 of them, which is okay. But yeah, Drake May, I really love him. I think he really does have that Justin Herbert, Josh Allen type upside. And I like the 2 receivers that, he got paired with. He's got 2 young receivers, and I think, whether I don't know if he's going to start day one or if they're going to have Jacoby Brissett roll out there. I think he'll ultimately win the battle in camp. But Drake May, man, I think he's going to be something special, and I think the Patriots got lucky with that pick.
100%. Let's start off round 2.
All right. Think I'm gonna do it, man. I think I'm gonna go Adonai Mitchell here. Yeah, I'm gonna go Adonai Mitchell. I like him more than the 3 receivers ahead of him. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's got something to prove. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I think he can come in day one and be the wide receiver 2 behind Michael Pittman. I think he'll eventually take over that role from Michael Pittman. The guy's got 4.3 speed. He's aggressive at the point of attack with the catch. And, you know, I think he goes into a good situation with Anthony Richardson, who's got a rocket arm and really fits his skill set very good. So I'm really high on Adonai Mitchell. I think he's going to be an absolute dog come the next level. And that chip on your shoulder, don't underestimate that, man. He's going to be hungry. He's going to go out there. He's going to demand targets. He's going to want to prove everyone wrong. And, I think he's going to be the eventual wide receiver 1 for the Colts. I really think he will eventually take that wide receiver 1 role from Michael Pittman. I think he's a better athlete.
I like you calling your shot and taking him here. If you do expect him to take over that wide receiver 1 role, he definitely has the upside. He has CeeDee Lamb upside. That's why I never really understood the fall in the first place, and I'm not really worried about him as a on the off-field issues. He goes into a perfect situation. So I really like that pick. I had him not too far down the board at all. Moving on to the next pick, I will stop the fall. The consensus number 5 Dynasty Rookie will go off the board here at 14. I think there's potential there. It'll be fun. There's going to be some highlight weeks where he has like a 90-yard touchdown. He's going to have some kick return touchdowns as well. He's probably instantly the best kick returner in the NFL. So there is some value there. I understand it, but we're both just a little bit lower on the player, maybe a little bit concerned about the size and the durability issues and just the overall role for his future. But that's why he falls.
No, he's definitely worth the dart throw. I mean, just because he's the fastest player in combine history, man. He ran a 4.21. He goes to a quarterback, the perfect quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, who they just can use him in a unique role and get him open. It's just whether he can, the durability, the hands, but the upside is definitely there. So it is definitely worth the dart throw. All right, I'm gonna go White Lightning 2.0 here. I'm gonna go Ricky Pearsall. I think, he comes into a situation where with Kyle Shanahan, where they're very, very good at using their wide receivers in unique roles. I do think maybe by the start of the season, we'll see either a Brandon Ayuk or a Deebo Samuel off this team. So I think it leaves a perfect wide receiver 2 spot open for Ricky Pearsall. And I mean, he's a dynamic playmaker, man. I think he can line up in the slot. I think he really fits Brock Purdy's skill set super well. He can kind of play that. He can kind of be a mix of that. I mean, he's a really good route runner. I feel like he can kind of play that Debo role. He can come and take the end arounds and stuff. So I feel like he's just kind of a perfect tweener for them. So whoever they end up moving off of, if they end up doing it, which I assume they will, and that's why I'm taking Ricky Pearsall here. But I think he can just go into that Kyle Shanahan offense and just really be a key piece to that puzzle and really, step in and play a lot of different roles.
All right, Stores is taking the insurance shot. I like it a lot. He's taking that dynasty shot if for the case that Debo or Ayuk get traded. It's honestly beautiful. He's gonna be a crazy production freak in fantasy if one of those two get traded. Shanahan loves the play style for Pearsall. He's gonna have ooey eyes over his route running and just the way that he wins in the intermediate game. I think he's going to be awesome in that San Fran team. So I can't fault that at all. He was just a few picks or just a few players down my board. The next player on my board, though, is Xavier Leggett. I just really love the situation he's going into. We saw that the Panthers were just really, really high on him. They wanted him. They told him they were going to draft him if he was there. And it feels like they just have a role for him day one. He might be their, best receiver on the outside day one, their most electric receiver. So I think it's going to be a fun piece to have in Dynasty. I'm more trusting in this Panthers offense than most. And I guess so is Stores taking Jonathan Brooks at 7. So yeah, I think these Panthers rookies could honestly be fun. And I think Jatavian Sanders could be fun. I like the situations. I just really like the rules that they have in this offense. They're going to get a lot of targets, really.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in love with this guy, and if they don't feed him, I'll be absolutely shocked. But yeah, Xavier Legette, man, he's a dynamic playmaker. He's a yak guy. He can, he can really just burn you and win down the field. And yeah, he's excited. I'm a little bit scared of him, just a little bit. I am kind of scared of that Panthers passing offense. But again, he comes into a wide receiver room, where he can take it over and I mean, they drafted him to be the wide receiver one essentially. So I get the pick. I don't know. I'm a little scared until that Panthers passing offense proves me different.
No, it's very fair. We don't know if that Panthers offense will provide any options in fantasy. So that is definitely a fair qualm. What's your next pick?
There's two guys that I have pretty much ranked evenly on my board, but I am going to go the running back here. I am going to go Blake Corum. He is a little bit of an older prospect. He comes into the draft at 24 years old. But I believe Kyron Williams' contract is up at the end of this year.
Yep.
And so I don't know if they'll re-sign Kyron Williams. I think you just move off of Kyron Williams, get on another rookie running back deal. And Blake Corum, man, he scored 27 touchdowns last year in college football. He gets in the end zone. I kind of see him having like an Austin Eckler role. He comes out of the backfield, he catches. He has a nose for the end zone. He has a nose for the end zone. The Rams will find a way to get him the ball, even with a crowded backfield with Kyron Williams. But they're very similar players, but it is kind of a fun 1-2 punch. But I'm taking the upside of this guy knows how to score touchdowns, man. He found the end zone more than anyone in college football, so I'm going to bank on that.
Yeah, he's a consensus RB3. He's my RB3. I compared him to Kyron Williams in the coming into the draft, and then he goes into this situation where, like, for Dynasty, we're going to be lower on Kyron Williams just because it is a little bit scary, man. It's scary that they have his literal clone behind him right now and waiting in the wings, and he's got less tracks under his tires. So I do like the pick. I like you calling your shot that he could just be the eventual replacement for Kyron. He could be off the team next year, and then that's a crazy, crazy investment. So I really love that. With
They
the
took him
next,
in the third round. They took
yeah,
him in the third round. That they didn't just, it wasn't like a fourth, fifth, sixth round pick. When you're taking a third round, when you're taking somebody in the third round, it's to get starting reps, man. So it's gonna take a lot away from Kyron Williams.
the draft capital that you like to see is there. And yeah, he was actually expected to go a little bit lower than that. So the Rams definitely do like him. With the next pick, I'm going to go chalk, take the highest guy off the board, JJ McCarthy. He goes into the perfect situation. Kevin O'Connell's offense, the perfect offense for him. He's got all the upside, all the tools in the world, really. He's got, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones at his disposal, Jordan Addison. It's going to be so fun. Don't really need to talk about it. Just whenever he comes in for Darnold, he's going to be electric.
Kind of like you just like, Kirk Cousins, he's never that sexy pick in fantasy, but he's that really solid, consistent pick. And I believe Kirk Cousins was like QB3 in fantasy football till he got hurt. He was having an incredible season. And so, you kind of look at JJ McCarthy and be like, I feel like he can be that Kirk Cousins, but with a little bit more athletic upside to him, and a little bit more running upside. And he really does. The Minnesota Vikings were the perfect situation for any quarterback to go into, and JJ McCarthy really benefits from that. And you've taken every single quarterback from me, Dan. I thought I could wait on JJ, but I'm learning about you, and this is a fun exercise, man. I get to learn where your board's at, and so does everyone else.
Yeah, I value these quarterbacks, and we have our dynasty startup draft tonight. So this is not good, me showing all my cards with these rookies right before it. But do you want to go on to the next pick?
Yeah, this one's going to be pretty chalk for me. It's going to be Roman Wilson. The Pittsburgh Steelers get another fantastic receiver in the later rounds of draft. I think he immediately comes in here and he is your Deontay Johnson. And he may be the leading target receiver. You got George Pickens and Roman Wilson, but I mean, Roman Wilson is a little bit better of a route runner. I think he's a little bit better of the intermediate guy, but he can also burn you deep. So I just feel like he's kind of that perfect chess piece. And, you just slide him into that Deontay Johnson role and you don't skip a beat. And, if I'm getting Deontay Johnson here in my rookie fantasy draft, I'm feeling pretty good.
He literally is Deontay Johnson. They have all outside receivers on their team, just George Pickens and a bunch of outside receivers, deep threats. So he really fills into a role. He has his kind of his own role in that intermediate game. He's really got great speed. He can accelerate and separate through his acceleration. So I love the pick. It's a great, shot. You're throwing your shot at a Steelers mid-round receiver. It's gonna hit. Going on to my next guy, someone I actually have over Roman Wilson, someone I think that the consensus is just completely missing on, and that's Jalen Polk, man. He's going into a situation with Drake May where he's the wide receiver one in his offense. Like undoubtedly, he's the wide receiver one. I have him over, Roman Wilson, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall. I'm really high on this Jalen Polk situation. I just think he's going to go into a high floor situation. Maybe his ceiling isn't the highest, but as the wide receiver one with Javon Baker, he's going to be more of a deep threat, kind of a throw it up and go get it guy. I think Jalen Polk is going to be that reliable receiver that Drake May goes to like twice a drive at least. So I just think he's going to be a PPR, really high floor guy that I'm just going to be high on.
I respect that and I really like it. That would have been my very next pick, which I'm pissed about. But yeah, no, he was the next guy where it's just the obvious pick, man. He comes into a situation, there's two rookie wide receivers. He was picked beforehand. He comes from that, elite Washington offense where he put up, crazy production behind Romo Dunze. And, a guy who I really thought could walk into the NFL and be a wide receiver one, and they picked him high in the second round to be a wide receiver one. So I love that pick. I'm pissed and now kind of panicking because there's a couple players I want to do, but I don't know if I want to reach now. But that would have been my chalk next pick. So I respect you doing that. But all right, screw it. Screw it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go. Oh, do I do it? This is where the draft gets chalky right here. This is kind of where the draft gets chalky. Now you're just kind of you can throw your darts here. You can bank for upside. But the Green Bay Packers always, always, always piss me off because they always have a 1-2 punch. They always split that backfield. And so Marshawn Lloyd is just a very, very explosive running back. I'm gonna have to go him right here. I think he pairs in there with Josh Jacobs. He's just that explosive piece to the offense. He has that breakaway speed. He's that quick twitched running back. He even is a little bit bigger. He's got a little bit thicker body to him as well for being that quick twitchy guy. I think I'm just gonna throw the dart here and hope Josh Jacobs it's a hard pick because Josh Jacobs is still so young and he just signed was it a 4-year, $40 million contract? So he obviously goes in there to be the running back one. But I just I think I have to because they run a running back by committee, man. They just can't help themselves. I think yeah. I'm gonna I don't know how confident I feel. This is like the first pick where I don't feel super confident in it, but I'm gonna throw my dart at him.
I will say it's high for me. He's my RB7 for my dynasty rankings. I just, they re-signed AJ Dillon. So year one, he's really just going to be that third down scat back, maybe going on some receiving downs whenever Josh Jacobs or Dillon aren't in on third downs. I don't love the situation. I don't love the player just because I hate his vision. He has the worst vision in the class. I just honestly hated the pick from the Packers. So he's someone I'm lower on. I have him as my 33 overall player, or sorry, 34 actually behind Jalen Wright. So yeah,
Oh
don't
yeah.
love the situation or player, but I respect it.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Dan's a Marshawn Lloyd hater. Good to know. I can definitely get him later. If
Certifiable Marshawn Lloyd hater, Dan over here. But moving on to the next pick, it's someone that I actually like. I'm a little bit higher on than consensus. It's going to be
holy.
Bosa Nix, Mr. Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos. He goes into that situation that everyone was kind of predicting him to go to with Sean Payton and the Broncos. It should be fun. He gets his Oregon receiver Troy Franklin with him to help his comfortability. I do think there's some upside with this pick as well. He goes behind JJ McCarthy, and but McCarthy won't start day one, but you get Nix who's going to start day one, give you some fantasy production from the jump, and you never know. You never know with these rookie top 15 pick quarterbacks. You never know. He could hit, could be the next Mahomes, and you got some upside getting him here with this value.
I love it. I really do. You've taken every single quarterback in this thing, so you're just genuinely higher than me on every single quarterback by just that slight little margin. So I do respect it. He's gonna step in, he's gonna be the starter. I think the ceiling for him, if he can ever reach it, really could be a Drew Brees type guy. So I love the pick there.
Yeah, I
This
feel
one's
like the offense will manufacture like enough production for him to be somewhat relevant in fantasy. So
Yeah, 100%. This one's gonna be kind of like I think he's gonna contribute now. I think he's gonna be a good player now. I think he can find his way into the end zone. I feel like this team has been lacking a good running back for so many years. Give me Ray Davis, man. Give me Ray Davis right here. A guy who I think, he's lower on this consensus board, but I feel like he's gonna come in here, man, and he's a little bit of an older back. He comes in here at 24. He's another guy that had one of the most yards after contact, which is just a really good stat to have. Coming out of college, it really translates well to the NFL. But a team that's just been lacking a true dynamic, good running back. I don't care about James Cook. I don't think James Cook is incredible. I think there's definitely that, he can be the bell cow. James Cook can be that scat back. But I don't know, man. I have a good feeling about Ray Davis.
you just completely finessed me. He's my RB4. I am incredibly high on him. You saw he was down lower on that consensus board. He's my RB4 just because you can see the role. He's immediately their RB2. He's immediately the running back that's going to finesse all of James Cook's touchdowns in the goal line that everyone's going to be pissed about in fantasy. There's always that vulture finessing from James Cook. That's going to be Ray Davis as a rookie, and he probably has that role for 5-10 years. So I absolutely love it going into a perfect situation. He might not be the number one bell cow guy, but he's definitely got a high floor, low ceiling, and I love that value for it. So great pick there. I'm kind of surprised that he was number or that high on your board as well.
Absolutely, man. Just a guy that I really loved through the process. I haven't talked too much about him, but yeah, I mean he's a beefy guy, man. He's gonna be a good running back, and he's just kind of been what Buffalo's been lacking for years.
Yeah, it's funny because in our 7 round mock drafts, we predicted Ray Davis to the Bills just because he is that Latavius Murray, just fill in, and he's the young rookie Latavius Murray. So it's awesome, perfect role for him. We're finding guys with good roles in this round two. The next pick, another guy that comes into a great role. I'm going to go 2 Oregon guys in a row for my picks. Troy Franklin goes to the Denver Broncos, one of the falls of the drafts, maybe, call it a steal of the draft if you want, but he falls for, some drop, some size, some off the field concern issues that I'm not really worried about. I think he goes into a really comfortable situation with Bo Nix, and I think it's awesome. There's some upside in that Denver offense. I think he's I always said that he was the best deep threat in this class. I think he's a real threat. He's a premier deep threat, and he comes down with some fun acrobatic catches on the sideline. So I love it. I think Bo Nix and him will have a good, high floor connection. You're probably going to see him going higher than this in your guys' dynasty rookie drafts as well. I see him going like early second round sometimes. So yeah, I do like the pick.
Oh, very, very good pick. I mean, Troy Franklin, he already has the chemistry with his, with his college quarterback. They both move seamlessly to the NFL. They have that chemistry. They know what they like to run. They're comfortable with each other. So, that's a high upside pick. And he comes into a situation again where, you know, you could ultimately take over that wide receiver one role. You have Cortland Sutton there who doesn't really seem like he wants to be in Denver. Seems like he's kind of irritated. Jerry Judy moves away. And you just plug and play Troy Franklin. He's got to be a starter day one. So yeah, I love the pick.
Yeah, he has the size to eventually become wide receiver one. I wouldn't mind moving off from Sutton at any time, really. And Sam Monson on the PFF Fantasy podcast said yesterday that I wouldn't be incredibly surprised if Troy Franklin did not significantly outperform his draft stock. So I do kind of agree with that. I just think he's going to outperform where he's going in, the real draft and in fantasy. I think it's a good value.
Absolutely. All right, Dan, you ready for this one, baby?
Not really.
You ready for this one?
Nope. I'm scared.
Give me Tyrone Tracy Jr., baby.
Wow, you're
Give me,
finessing all my guys.
Give me Tyrone, baby. Oh man, you're coming into a running back situation where you only have Devin Singletary in front of you. He was formerly a college wide receiver. moved to running back last year, so he's going to have that PPI upside. This is a guy, man, if you can get him, it's the door's open for him to be the starter day one, and he's an electric receiving back, another yards after contact type of guy who I very, you'll hear me say this, you know, uh, yards after contact, man. That's one of the most important stats going in going into the NFL. He was one of those guys. He has good hands, formerly a college wide receiver, but immediately, comes into a situation where you have Devin Singletary, who I've never been very high on Devin Singletary, but Saquon Barkley's gone. The role is open for him, man. The role is open for him to take that RB1 spot and to be a PPR machine, man. Daniel Jones, I think will look to check down a lot this year, and Tyrone Tracy, I feel like will be the guy who benefits from that.
I absolutely love it. I thought he was high on my running back rankings for Dynasty. I have him as RB9, and I love this pick. I just see the role. I see the path to a really good value pick because he's going to be their receiving back day one. Obviously, Singletary won't be their third down receiving back. So that's really exciting. Then he's going to kind of show out on those. I'm pretty confident he's going to show out on third downs because he's that former receiver, really just fluid and smooth. He's got a full route tree as a running back. So I'm high on the guy, man. I'm high on the pick. I'm like you really calling your shot on him, and I like you getting his name out there. I really, really love Tracy and just the situation he's in. It's perfect. Kind of
Yeah.
Saquon vibes.
Oh, 100%, man. 100%. Love the pick, love the player. I think, I love the situation. That's the ultimate thing. It's just like, you got one guy in front of you and it's Devin Singletary, and that's a good room to take over.
Beautiful stuff. Store's calling a shot on that one. I'm going to go with the next receiver off of my personal board. It is going to be Jermaine Burton. And it's interesting because it's someone you were higher on than me all of the draft. I actually was really, really incredibly low on him just because of the off the field stuff. It's suspect to say the least. I don't love the player as a person off the field. It does scare me, but he goes into the situation where there's question marks with T. Higgins. He's probably their wide receiver 3 day one as well in this Bengals offense. Talking about situations, that is pretty perfect of a situation. I'm sure he'll buy in, he'll fix his off the field issues as a lot of these Bengals do. They take shots on those kind of guys. So I believe in the situation. I believe in this value. I'm not going to take him round 2, but round 3, I can be comfortable with it as someone that was low on him.
I thought I could wait. Couldn't wait. I did not think you would end up taking him, but yeah, I mean, this guy just kind of more electric Tyler Boyd in my opinion, man. Just a really solid, beefy guy who's sneakily fast, who can come in and be your slot wide receiver day one. Who knows what's up with T Higgins? And yeah, just a guy who can instantly contribute. Joe Burrow can spread the ball around. He just comes into the perfect situation for himself. I'm so pissed you took him.
Sorry about it.
It's okay. I'm gonna go the next tight end off the board. It's been a little while. I'm gonna go
Damn
Jatavius
it.
Sanders. He's got only Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas in that tight end room. He is that kind of wide tight end. He's gonna be the receiver tight end. He can go out there, he can catch 50 targets all day long. He's gonna become a safety net for Bryce Young. He can run those seam routes. He can kind of run all over the field. And yeah, just a tremendous value here. The next tight end off the board since round one, pick 6 with Brock Bowers. Give me the kid from Texas.
He was the literal next player on my board. I was about to take him. So thanks for, I finessed one of your guys, you finessed one of mine right back. So yeah, that's why this is fun. But I do love the situation. I don't really agree with why he fell in the draft. He fell because of not the best combine, not the best RAS score because of that. Maybe some off the field concerns. I'm not really worried about it. Like I said, he goes into a situation where I think Jatavion Sanders, Jonathan Brooks, and Xavier Leggett all have clear, bell cow roles in their respective positions day one. And I think they're all going to get a lot of work, a lot of targets day one. And in Dynasty, that's valuable. So you get a guy that you can consider starting pretty early in this rookie season, and it's Dynasty. So he's going to be really awesome. A lot of upside with just Jatavion Sanders as well as a receiver. Kind of finessed me with my next pick. I will go with a tight end that I have in the same tier. He actually goes as the second tight end in the draft, and that is Ben Sinnott. I don't love his quarterback as much as I love Bryce Young, but I do love the player Ben Sinnott. I thought he was the fourth best tight end in this class. He goes as the tight end too, and they use that draft capital on him, so that is something valuable in fantasy that pushes him up a little bit. And he's got good athleticism. He's just gonna have a role because he's great in He's a great blocker. He's a really underrated receiver. I think he can run it like Kyle Juszczyk. I think he has Sam Laporta upside, Kyle Juszczyk floor. I really think he's that type of player. So I love the value here.
100%. Yeah, Ben Sinnott, just fun football player. He'll be used in a variety of different roles that'll make him just, efficient and good for fantasy. So I like him. And if, they play that kind of quick hitter game with Jaden Daniels just getting the ball out fast, I feel like Ben Sinnott will really thrive in that type of role. So I love that pick there. Um I don't love this pick, but I feel like I have to do it here at the value. I'm gonna go Jalen Wright, a crowded running back room, a guy that just is identical to Raheem Mostert. This is one I'm picking for 2 years down the road right here. I think he's gonna be the RB3 this season. But he is literally Raheem Mostert 2.0, and so I think he takes over that Mostert role in 2 years, and he becomes, it's kind of that 3 down running back and that kind of change of pace with Devon Achane. But just a guy with blazing speed, man, home run type of speed here, 4.3. He's a bigger running back. He runs a 4.34 at 215 pounds. He was my running back one in the draft class. I really, really loved this guy. But he goes to a situation where I get it, like, he fits the situation good. It's just a crowded running back room, and it's just, it's a big running back by committee, but he's too good to not get touches in year one. But I think he will, eventually be that Raheem Mostert come 2025.
I like you betting on your guy. He was your RB1, so I like you taking him here. I have him a little bit lower just because, like you said, the situation isn't the most beautiful going in as the RB3. I have him one spot above Marshawn Lloyd, so just similar analysis there, but he's not too far down my board at all at this point. So I think it is good value, a lot of upside, like you said, a lot of athletic upside as well. He's going to have some really electric plays that will excite fantasy owners. So I like that one. With the next pick, I'm going to go receiver. My next player off the board is Malachi Corley for the Jets. I think he goes into a good situation where he just slots right in as that wide receiver three with Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams. And I know there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, so he will fall maybe even farther than this in your drafts. But I really like the player. First of all, Corley, you're going to have ways to involve him around the line of scrimmage. He does play like a Debo. He calls himself the Yak King because he's just a physical beast. He's like a running back playing receiver. So they're going to have a role for him, something that Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams don't really do as well. So I do think he's being slept on because of that and because of all the mouths that they need to feed on this offense. But I do think he's going to be good value because he's going to have a nice, Jaden Reed type role as a rookie. And I think he could surprise as a rookie, and he's got some nice dynasty value as well.
100%. Yeah, Malachi Corley. Like I'm gonna say, with this pick, because I'm very, very familiar with a wide receiver on the Jets that he's probably not going to be healthy for the first few games. He's coming off an ACL injury. Mike Williams, this guy cannot stay on the field to save his life. Fantastic football player, but he just kind of his body's like a rag doll, man. He jumps up. He's very aggressive in football, and he comes down, and he's a big guy. And the bigger they are, the harder they fall, and stuff just seems to break on the dude. And he can never play a full season. So. You got Garrett Wilson already in that offense. I think Malachi Corley may be getting as many snaps as Mike Williams year one, just because you never know if Mike Williams is going to be on the field. So, and he's kind of that, like you said, that chess piece, that Debo Samuel. He's going to be the end around type of guy. He's going to be the guy that comes out there on special type plays, where you get him involved at the running back position and stuff. So I really like that pick.
No, that is a good point. If there is an injury, then this is just a great, incredible value, and he'll actually be kind of a fantasy beast, especially in just their standard league. So I really like the pick. I like the value there. Who are you going to go with the next pick?
I'm going to go Javon Baker, the
Damn
second
it!
receiver the Patriots drafted. A guy who, in most other draft classes would have been probably like a top 6, 7 receiver off the board. But he, in this absolutely stacked draft class we had this year, he falls down the board. But he goes to another situation where he goes in with a rookie quarterback. He's got a chance to really build that chemistry between the two. And I think he fits Drake May's skill set honestly perfectly. I feel like they drafted the two perfect wide receivers for Drake May, to be honest with you. And so, a guy who, he's gonna have to compete with targets. He's gonna have to, try and establish his role between Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk. But, no reason he couldn't, he's got the skill set. He could, possibly, be their X at some point. He could be their best receiver. He's got to compete with Polk for that, but I'm kind of taking a 50-50 shot with this one.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I think he is their Z day one, and maybe they just make Pop more of that kind of their number four, and then Kendrick Bourne is their slot. I actually could see Javon Baker being that outside receiver day one, just both Polk and Baker on the outside. I don't see why not. I think they complement Drake May perfectly. So yeah, as you saw by my reaction, I was pissed by this. You finessed him from me. He was the next player on my board. I love the potential with Drake May. You saw his confidence. He definitely doesn't lack the confidence. I don't know if you saw it, but he was saying there ain't no way that there's 10 receivers in America better than me. He was saying he's already a top 10 receiver in the NFL, let alone this NFL draft. So great value getting a top 10 receiver in the NFL here.
Absolutely, yeah. And just, again, I love drafting a rookie wide receiver with a rookie, who's playing with a rookie quarterback. I just like them having that chemistry coming in.
And then going into my next pick, the next player on my board, speaking about great situations, it's going to be Jalen McMillan, who you compared to Chris Godwin. He goes into the situation with Chris Godwin. He's going to be their wide receiver three day one. I think he's one of the best slots in this draft, straight up. I think he's just a really smart football player. He's savvy as a route runner. He gets really open really nicely. I think he's just underrated. I thought he's one of the more underrated receivers in this class coming off an injury. And I just think there's a lot of untapped potential with this situation. You got Mike Evans and Godwin both aging. He could be their wide receiver one in a year. You never know. So I really like the upside, the value here, and I see the day one role as well. I think there's going to be an impact.
Pissed about this one, man. Just another good Washington wide receiver. He got hurt this year. He could have been a guy that ultimately went over like Jalen Polk. He was like their wide receiver two, or I think he might have even been 2 years ago like their wide receiver one before he got hurt and Rome and Polk really just took over. But yeah, like I said, he's like a clone of Chris Godwin in my opinion. Just a silky smooth receiver over the middle of the field. Just gonna be that kind of reception, that PPR villain. And he's gonna be their their wide receiver one or two in a year. So, Mike Evans, who's, on the other side of 30. And then Chris Godwin, who's had injuries, who knows? They had to pay Baker Mayfield. I don't know how long that wide receiver duo is gonna be there and if they're gonna stay healthy. So Jalen McMillan is just a really good pick here.
Absolutely love the player and the situation. What's your next pick going to be?
I'm gonna go the kid from Troy, man. I'm going Kamani Vidal, the running back for the Chargers here. And a guy who I think, you're coming into a situation where you got Gus Edwards on a 2-year deal, J.K. Dobbins on a 1-year deal, who's been an injury-prone player. You said it best to me when they drafted him. Picture like a mini Josh Jacobs. That's what Kamani Vidal is. And a guy who people are talking about, he could take over the running back room. They said there's no reason he couldn't be this, the starter. If that a lot of people have him really high. I was listening to a lot of different podcasters say maybe he goes in and he beats everyone out. I don't know. I don't think that'll be the case, but I think this is kind of another future pick. You're kind of picking for 2025. I think in 2025, I don't know if J.K. Dobbins will be on the Chargers. I think this might have been a future pick to move off of J.K. Dobbins next year. But just a hell of a football player, man. Just crazy college production. 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns. Just an absolute little, and he's like a tank, man. He's 5'8", 215 pounds. Just a tank. He's gonna get lost behind the line, but a guy who I've watched quite a bit of, and I'm getting really high on him.
Yeah, I really like it. I like the value here. Like you said, he does have bell cow. One of the last drafts or one of the last running backs in the draft that got drafted that do have bell cow upside. So you go into a situation, this run heavy offense with, the Roman Harbaugh offense. He's a really solid player as well. Someone I really liked. I was higher on. So yeah, the situation's great. This is just great value for that. He could have an impact day one, but if not, he's going to be a great investment for year two. So I love that one. Going on to the next pick. This is tough because this is my last pick. Oh wait, I have two more picks. Oh, I was stressing for no reason. Okay.
I know. I wanted two more too. There's three players I wanted to come off the board, but
Yeah.
I only get one more.
I was
Hopefully,
deciding between three as well. So I'm happy that I got two picks here, and I'm gonna go with my guy, Isaac Guerendo. I know day one the situation might not be the best, but I think you can just move off from Eli Mitchell right now. I said before Guerendo got drafted, he needs to go into a Shanahan zone offense, and he literally goes to to Shanahan, and you know that Shanahan fell in love with just his style of play, his speed. He's got that 4.3 speed, and he's a really nice runner inside the tackles as well. I think he's got nice size. I think he's got nice bell cow upside of Christian McCaffrey. Something happens to him, I think he could just be a great number one. So I like the shot here, the investment here, and he was someone I was really, really high on. He was a top 4 running back for me.
I love it. Yeah, just went to the perfect situation with I mean, Isaac Guerrero, who ran. What did he run? Did he run in the 4.2s or was it 4.3?
I think it was 4.3.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, he's a bigger back too. I think he's 200 pounds. But yeah, just talk about a perfect situation to back up Christian McCaffrey. And of course, Christian McCaffrey has struggled with injury. So if anything happens with him, Isaac Guerrero is going to be an incredible fantasy player. But, this is also going to be a future pick. And, I think they're good at using that 1-2, that 1-2 running back system, the running back by committee. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun pick. I'm glad you went with him there. I'm gonna kind of go just because I really want him to get drafted. And I don't know if you will draft him, but and a player who it's a 2025 pick. I'm going to the tight end room. I'm going Cade Stover, the future tight end one for CJ Stroud. A guy who I think can be like Dalton Schultz, who can be maybe better than Dalton Schultz. And I think this is the replacement for Dalton Schultz after 2024. So, this is more of a 2025 pick, but a prospect that I really, really love.
I love it. He's my tight end 4 as well. I think he should be the clear tight end 4. Right as he goes to the Texans, you just had to love the fit. He has that connection with CJ Stroud already. He is that security blanket type of player, like a Dalton Schultz clone. Kind of unfortunate that you gave him that contract because you can just fill right in for Dalton Schultz like right now if you wanted to. But
And Sketch announced a draft pick for him. So you
ooh,
got to be great. You got to be great, man. When the kid announced your pick, you gotta be great. You have to be.
yeah, when
Can't.
he announced it that electrically, that was a pretty fun announcement. There's no way that player could not be good. So yeah, that's a very good point as well. I'll go on to my last pick of this exercise. Hard not to pick Michael Penix here. I think he would go with the next pick, so we'll give you a bonus 4th round pick. Michael Penix will go with the next pick, but I'm going to go with the highest receiver on my board, someone that I thought was overdrafted in the world draft. But
Yeah.
like I said, they have that draft capital on him. They placed that 3rd round value on Luke McCaffrey, so clearly they like the guy. They lose Curtis Samuel. I think he's definitely going to have a role in this offense day one. He's going to get a lot of targets. So I do think it's worth a shot here especially a dynasty aspect. I don't know if Jaden Daniels has the highest upside as a passer, like I said, but in the intermediate game, I'm sure Luke McCaffrey will be schemed up to have some pretty fun plays, and he's a big guy too, so he's got some upside. I like it.
100%. He's going to contribute, through three different phases of the team: kick return, punt return, wide receiver, running back, end arounds. But I think he could be a guy that really can just be that, that reception type of guy. I think he's got really good, clean hands. I think he can kind of be that short to intermediate type of the field, wide receiver and another safety net for a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who really likes that quick game, and they'll use him in a bunch of different fun ways. I'm really glad because I wanted Kamani Vidal, Kate Stover, and Luke McCaffrey to go in those last picks. So I'm glad you ended up going Luke McCaffrey. And then why not throw Michael Penix out there, man? Obviously, the Falcons think very highly of him. He's gonna be a really good quarterback whenever he gets to play. It's probably gonna be 2 years from now, but you have to throw him in here.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how long it could be. That's why he falls behind some of these other quarterbacks, is because it could be 3 years till he's out there. But yeah, the really fun exercise, kind of drafting against each other with our personal rankings. We're gonna have a dynasty startup draft tonight, so that should be really fun. Looking forward to that. Anyone you wanted to shout out? Just a few guys at the top of my board, real quick, that I didn't get to. I had Audric Estimate pretty high. I think day one he's gonna have a role, kind of sharing with Javonte Williams. He has the upside to eventually even start over Javonte Williams. I think personally, Jacob Cowing, if maybe the Niners want to trade both those receivers, then Jacob Cowing would be an incredible steal wherever he goes. Spencer Rattler, I think he can start over Derek Carr. So in a super flex league, keep your eyes on him. And I think Tez Walker has some upside with the Ravens as well.
Yeah, I'll shout out Rasheen Ali, another Ravens guy, another running back who I fit's gonna, come in there and maybe even have an opportunity to eventually start. And then I never know how to say his last name, Dylan Labu,
Loud.
Laub. Dylan Lau, but he goes into a team where, he got drafted by Tom Telesco, who's always had that small, little, short Danny Woodhead, Austin Eckler, Tremaine Pope type guy, where I think they'll just feature him a lot, to be honest with you. I think he'll be featured a lot in the passing game. So he's definitely worth a shout out to for me. Brendan Rice, I probably would have if the Chargers didn't sign BJ Chark, but he's definitely a guy that's got something to prove, a seventh round draft pick. And Will Shipley, who goes behind Saquon Barkley, but he is an intriguing piece because Philadelphia is kind of you know the people that really started that running back by committee. So we'll see.
Yeah, love those shout outs. And Bucky Irving, we didn't shout out because we're just both a little bit lower on the player. He does go into a pretty good situation where he's that third down back day one. So I think he would honestly probably be off the board in your guys' draft. So keep an eye on Bucky Irving. We're just a little bit lower on him. But yeah, really fun kind of giving our, stamping our feet, showing our rookie rankings. I really like it. A lot more fantasy dynasty content to come soon. So yeah, anything else you want to say, Stores?
Just might have to post this after our draft tonight, so no one gets any sneak peeks, baby.
Yeah. Might need to, make this one confidential. But yeah, really fun. Thank you guys for tuning in to the NFL Seekers podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned. Peace.
Peace.